It's happening again. Zimbabwe is standing at the edge of a dark political cliff. Just when the people thought the chapter of endless rule was closed with Robert Mugabe's fall, a new storm is rising. President Emmerson Mnangagwa and the ruling ZANU-PF are now pushing for a constitutional amendment that could keep him in power until 2030. For millions of Zimbabweans, this isn't just politics. It's déjà vu, a repeat of the same script that plunged the nation into decades of pain and oppression. But this time, the anger is louder, the fear deeper, and the stakes higher. Do you think Zimbabwe can stop history from repeating itself? Share your thoughts in the comments, because silence, they say, is the friend of tyranny. As ZANU-PF endorsed its so-called 2030 agenda at the party's annual Congress, the mood across the nation changed overnight. Citizens who once celebrated the promise of a second republic after Mugabe's ouster now see the same tactics of manipulation, coercion, and intimidation re-emerging. To them, this agenda is nothing more than a political trap, a plan to extend power, silence dissent, and crush the last sparks of democracy. In the streets of Harare and Bulawayo, people whisper one haunting question: is this how Mugabeism returns, not with force, but through the pen? Then came the explosions. The SAPS Trust, a well-known center for political discussion and civil dialogue, was bombed just before it was set to host a national press conference opposing Mnangagwa's term extension. Its director, Professor Ibo Mandaza, awoke to flames devouring the seminar room, the very heart of his organization's efforts to hold the government accountable. Even worse, the security guard on duty was abducted by the attackers. Armed men locked the gates with padlocks, ensuring no escape. Mandaza called it an organized act of terror, one designed not to destroy buildings, but to destroy voices. The timing was no coincidence. SAPS Trust had been one of the few remaining platforms where citizens, intellectuals, and opposition leaders could speak freely about the growing authoritarianism in Zimbabwe. By silencing it with fire, the message from those in power was clear: dissent will be burned out of existence. But in a bold response, Mandaza refused to back down. He announced that the press conference would go on, even if it meant standing among the ashes. Would you have the courage to stand up after such an attack? Comment yes if you believe fear must never silence truth. Following the attack, condemnation poured in from every corner of the political spectrum. The Boni Mpofu, a respected lawyer, took to social media to call the bombing a cowardly act that shows the regime fears words more than weapons. His statement struck a nerve, because in Zimbabwe, words have always been the most dangerous weapon of all. Former Minister Xavier Kasukawere, now in exile, called the attack shameful, adding that a leopard cannot change its spots. To him, Mnangagwa's government is proving that it's just Mugabe's rule in a new coat of paint. But the violence didn't end there. In Highfield Township, the home of Gilbert Gwend, a member of the Constitutional Defense Forum, another civic group resisting Mnangagwa's term extension, was also set ablaze. The attack happened just an hour after the SAPS bombing. 2 fires, 2 messages, 1 goal: to scare the people into silence. Many Zimbabweans are asking the same painful question: if they can bomb scholars and activists, who's safe anymore? Tendai Biti, one of the country's most outspoken lawyers and opposition leaders, has vowed to defend the Constitution against its capture. To Biti, the 2013 Constitution is not just a document, it's the last shield between democracy and dictatorship. But he knows the fight won't be easy. ZANU-PF controls parliament, the judiciary, and most state institutions. The law, as he once put it, has become a weapon of oppression instead of protection. Do you think any country can be free when its laws serve its rulers instead of its people? Ordinary citizens are growing restless. Moses Msipa, a former soldier from Bulawayo, expressed frustration, saying, "We must say no to this. Mugabe became hated because he overstayed his welcome, and now they want to take us back there." His words echo across WhatsApp groups, community meetings, and bus stops, where ordinary Zimbabweans discuss their disillusionment under Mnangagwa's leadership. For them, promises of reform have turned into the same old corruption, intimidation, and lies. The 2030 agenda is being sold to the public as a vision of stability and development. But behind that promise lies a quiet, dangerous truth. It requires dismantling the term limits that protect citizens from permanent rule. The government argues that continuity is necessary for progress, yet the people know continuity under corruption only deepens poverty and suffering. Since Mnangagwa took power in 2017, inflation has soared, public services have collapsed, and youth unemployment has reached crisis levels. Political analysts warn that the move to extend Mnangagwa's rule could destabilize the country even further. Professor Eldred Massanunger told AFP that resistance is highly unlikely under such circumstances, notwithstanding the public anger they harbor. That statement reveals a chilling reality. People are angry, but fear keeps them from acting. In Zimbabwe, fear has become as common as hunger. Musa Kika, director of the Institute for Human Rights and Development in Africa, believes that only mass popular dissent could stop this constitutional coup. But he admits that organizing such resistance is nearly impossible under current conditions. Civic groups are under surveillance, protests are banned, and activists vanish without a trace. Still, many are quietly building networks of resistance online, determined to fight back even when the streets are closed to them. The Amalgamated Rural Teachers Union of Zimbabwe, ARTUZ, released one of the most scathing statements yet. In their message, they accused Mnangagwa of destroying education, eroding democracy, and turning the country into a feudal kingdom. They claimed that over 50,000 students dropped out of school last year alone because of poverty and mismanagement. Never again shall we allow Zimbabwe to regress to Mugabeism, their letter declared. Their courage has inspired many, but also put them in danger. Meanwhile, within ZANU-PF itself, quiet divisions are emerging. Insiders whisper of growing unease among supporters of Vice President Constantino Chiwenga, who was once seen as Mnangagwa's likely successor. Analysts believe this 2030 agenda is a strategic move to block Chiwenga's ambitions and keep the presidency locked within Mnangagwa's loyal circle. Stephen Chan, a professor at ARTUZ University in London, even suggested that if the plan were put to a referendum, it would be defeated outright. There are also fears that ZANU-PF may bypass constitutional procedures entirely. With its control over the courts, parliament, and electoral systems, the party could manipulate the amendment through legal trickery, avoiding any public vote. Kika has warned that the ruling elite see the law as a mere tool to achieve their ends, not a boundary for accountability. If you were a Zimbabwean living through this, would you stay silent or speak out? Comment below, because your voice might be the very thing this story needs to be heard around the world. The battle for Zimbabwe's soul is not over. It's only beginning.